Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, the Turkish president gives a rare interview on Israeli TV, the Beastie Boys bring New Yorkers together against hate, and Ashton Kutcher stands up to BDS. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news in Israel. Turkish President Erdogan just gave his first interview to an Israeli media outlet since before his country cut ties with the Jewish state in 2010. And what the fiery leader of Turkey's ruling Islamist AKP party had to say really wasn't all that surprising. While he says Ankara is ready to open a new page in relations with Jerusalem, Erdogan made it clear that Turkey will never apologize for the Mavi Marmara incident that caused the rupture in ties in 2010. 9 Turkish activists aboard the ship were killed after they violently attacked Israeli commandos sent to prevent them from breaching the naval blockade of Gaza 6 years ago. Both Israel and Egypt control entry of all goods and people into the Gaza Strip to keep weapons and other contraband material from reaching its Hamas terrorists' rulers. The Turkish leader dismissed video evidence of the incident as lies, despite clear images of the activists wielding iron bars, clubs, and knives against the Israelis. He went on to use the Islamist term, saying that 10 of our Turkish brothers were martyred. Despite the recent exchange of ambassadors and Israel's payment of $20 million in compensation, which is according to the terms of the reconciliation deal, relatives of the Turkish Islamists who died are still vowing to pursue criminal charges against the Jewish nation. The entire interview will be broadcast later today on Israel's Channel 2 News. Prosecutors in Egypt just announced that 151 terrorists linked to ISIS are behind bars on charges that they've been conspiring to kill the country's president as well as other prominent figures in the Middle East. There are warrants out to pick up another 141 radicals on suspicion that they've also been involved in at least 17 various plots. Several are believed to be dismissed police officers who later became Muslim fundamentalists. Officials in Cairo say that the men planned to assassinate Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi either during his pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia or in his home capital. In addition to trying to hit Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef in the Gulf Kingdom, they also allegedly plan to kill 5 top Egyptian judges. All of the suspects are accused of belonging to the Sinai province, which is the local ISIS affiliate. Hundreds of police and soldiers have been killed in battles against the groups just over Israel's border in the Sinai Desert. The Islamists have claimed responsibility for the 2015 downing of a Russian plane that killed all 224 people on board, as well as the 2014 attack on a bus carrying South Korean tourists that left 3 dead. At least 66 of the detained men have reportedly confessed to the charges against them. According to the Jewish agency, it's urgent that the connection between young Israelis and young Jews in the diaspora be strengthened. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz spoke to top Jewish agency official Shivi Greenfield about the programs that the agency has created to accomplish that goal.
So the 2 major priorities the Jewish agency has put forward there are 3 mainly, but let's talk about the first 2. First of all, to make sure that every Jew around the world remains connected to Israel in a very significant sense, and through that kind of enhance and reinforces its or her Jewish identity, but kind of remembering that Israel is a homeland of Jewish people and belongs to everyone all over the world, wherever they are. And the other side of this the other side of the coin is basically doing roughly similar thing with Israelis, with the young Israelis who because Israel is such a Jewish kind of state in its daily life and a calendar and less in a religious sense, many times forget that they're part of one people and they have like a tradition and history. And this disconnect can continue growing unless you remind young Israelis that they have kind of family and they're part of one big people. So it's trying to reinforce the connections between the 2.
For a lot of Israelis, it's 3 years in the army, and then it's working to try to take a trip abroad, and then it's coming back and going to college. At what stage in their development do you expect the Israeli young people to connect to the Jewish people of the diaspora?
Ideally, we have like school twinning. We would like that to start already from high school, even a little before, and the army, before the army, when they go, take the trips abroad, visit, peers. If they make kids from Taglit, go, stay in their houses. When they come back, go become shlichim. We think it's, what we call it, kind of, it's a cycle, kind of a spirala, we said, spiral, yeah. That, eventually we want it to be multiple kind of stage opportunities to connect. So it can start from from the early school days until, you're 50, and your kids, you take them on a trip, and you meet families that you met through partnerships, etc. So it's not one point, and it's over the life cycle of a person.
When I speak to young people in the diaspora, especially in the Western nations, the biggest issue that they talk about is the problems on college campus, the BDS movement, the anti-Israel feeling. What is the Jewish Agency doing to try to ease that burden for the students?
So what we're basically doing, we have fellows in various universities around our campuses. One major responsibility is to help, to orchestrate and kind of help them fight BDS. But I think it's much more deeper and much more significant, the fact that they allow them to feel comfortable with the fact that the situation in Israel is complex. There's no easy solutions. I mean, Israel itself is divided between how to cope with the reality. You can love Israel and still have criticism and feel that you would have done things differently, because it's not something that you choose to just to forgo and leave behind. Israel is some part of your identity. So kind of struggling with Israel, at the same time remaining loyal and loving. So this is kind of our main mission, of kind of encouraging this kind of attitude towards Israel without being frightened that you're going to be outcasted and regarded as anti-Israeli or anti-Zionist.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us at ILTV.
Thank you very much.
As previously reported, hate crimes in the United States have been on a sharp rise following the election of President-elect Donald Trump. With one of the latest incidents hitting a quiet Brooklyn park, Beastie Boy Adam Horovitz decided to answer the call. Hundreds of New Yorkers gathered in Brooklyn's Adam Horovitz Park to protest swastika graffiti that defaced the park in the days following the election of Donald Trump as president. The park is named after former Jewish Beastie Boy singer Adam Horovitz, who died in 2012. Beastie Boy Adam Horovitz addressed the gathering, saying that the Trump election made some people think it's okay to draw swastikas in a park.
I'm assuming that we're all here today because we're thinking the same thing. Spray painting swastikas in a children's playground is a messed up thing to do.
Yes!
And for many of us, it has special meaning because this park is named for Adam Horovitz, who was my friend and bandmate for over 30 years. But he was also someone that taught non-violence in his music, in his life, to all of us and to me. But this is more about someone in New York City linking Nazi Germany to Donald Trump in a hell yeah kind of way. In a park where children play, FYI. This is about the woman at a Brooklyn restaurant who was talking with her friend about how upset she was that Trump won. And a man overheard her, left the restaurant, ran back in, and punched her in the face and ran back out. This is about the KKK putting up flyers on Long Island. This is about neo-Nazis targeting synagogues in Jacksonville and Missoula. This is about hate crimes against Muslims soaring to their highest level since post-9/11.
The senior appointments of President-elect Donald Trump are raising more than a few eyebrows. Joining us today to discuss these developments is government and Israeli relations specialist Dr. Heim Weitzman. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Let's start right in. My first question is, with Trump's campaign was centered very heavily on, anti-establishmentism and very radically right-leaning. Are his early appointments reflecting these views, or are they changing at all?
Well, they are reflecting it, no doubt. Just look at his senior strategic advisor, Steve Bannon. The guy was the head of a website, or the editor of a website, which is infamous for being radical and even racist. Yeah. So and you can go on. I mean, his national security advisor, Michael Lynn, and so on. So these people are far right. So he's continuing his campaign in this sense.
Sure.
He started with a very moderate speech right after winning the elections.
Yeah, saying we all need to come together.
Yes, and very, very nice words. Mm-hmm. But then, for the moment, the few appointments he already made doesn't look like he wants to go to the center. He wants to stay where he was during the campaign.
Just to play devil's advocate, you have with Stephen Bannon, for example. The ADL came out and said, "Here's an anti-Semite. What is he doing, appointing somebody like this?" But then they came out later and rescinded some of those comments. How do you comment on that?
You can't take back his words, his previous words. If he's going to change during the time he's in office, hopefully.
No, I meant the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, took back some of their comments, calling Bannon an anti-Semite and.
I didn't call him anti-Semite. I just said that he had a few remarks that are not quite in the midstream of American politics. Obviously not politically correct. Okay,
and Trump.
And that was Trump. That was his whole campaign about.
Yeah.
So yeah, he continues his campaign.
Okay. Now, most of Trump's appointments have yet to be announced officially, but he is vetting lots of candidates. The news is going crazy over this. So let's start with the Secretary of State. Some of the names that have been thrown around are Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, and New York Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, or former mayor. Mitt Romney has also been tapped. Who of these people do you think will get the job, if any of them?
Well, I'm not sure any of them, because I think that had Mr. Trump wanted to appoint Rudy Giuliani, he would have done so already. The fact that he drags it means that, it's my interpretation, that he doesn't want, on one hand, he doesn't want to appoint Mr. Giuliani as the Secretary of State. On the other hand, he knows he owes him.
Why does he owe him?
Because he was almost the only one who supported him and Newt Gingrich all along the campaign.
That's
and
true.
He not only supported him, he went out to protect him and to assist him. So he owes him. It seems to me that he is trying to compensate Mr. Giuliani with some other appointment, maybe Homeland Security. We remember his being mayor of New York during the 9/11 and afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, he has experience.
He has experience. He can claim that he has experience. He knows what to do in Homeland Security. He doesn't have experience in international relationship. And apparently, maybe it's a good sign. Apparently, in my eyes, Mr. Trump understands he needs somebody who has experience in international relationship, since he doesn't have any.
So do you think that Trump understands his limitations and is efficiently or effectively looking for people to fill in those gaps, or is he kind of just looking for the people who agree with him?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he realizes the seriousness of his job, and he is trying to do a good job as a president of the United States. And he has some good people around him that help him with this building the new government, the new cabinet.
Yeah.
And it may be a good sign, the fact that he doesn't rush to appoint just the first name that popped to his head or something like that.
Okay, so in your opinion, who do you think, if Trump appointed this person, would make a good Secretary of State? in the next 4 years, working in that climate, in that sort of White House. And I guess part two of that question is, who of those people would be good for us, for Israel?
The most experienced person there is Mitt Romney. The problem with Mitt Romney is his relationship with the entire team, the entire staff, and with Trump himself.
It's true, yeah. I mean, Romney said some choice words about Trump.
So this is a problem. Now, who is going to be good for Israel? First of all, we have to decide what is good for Israel. Who is going to be good for Netanyahu's cabinet, Netanyahu's government? All three of them.
Really?
Yeah, at least in the beginning. But then we have to remember that Republican administrations were very friendly, but also very demanding.
Yeah.
And we still remember that the one who brought Hamas to power was George W. Bush, who insisted on having elections in the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas won.
Hamas won, yeah.
And Mr. Eisenhower kicked us out of Sinai in 1956, 1957. And he was also a Republican. On the other hand, we had Mr. Nixon, who helped us a great deal during the Yom Kippur War in 1973.
Yeah.
And Mr. Reagan, who was very friendly as well. You never know. You never know. Yeah. Eventually, these people are Americans, and they will do what they believe is in the best interest of the United States.
So that actually brings me to my next question. Here we have retired Marine Corps General James Mattis, who has been tapped as the possible defense secretary. He is known to be familiar with the security needs of Israel. Does he know about the security needs of the IDF? Is he closely understanding of these needs, and does it matter to him? What's his relationship with Israel?
Well, he is remembered to say that the settlements are harming Israel. So people here won't be that happy to see him there. On the other hand, all military people up until today developed very good relationship with the Israeli military staff and Minister of Defense and so on and so forth. So I don't see a problem there. And usually the Secretary of Defense is very important. It's a key figure in the government, but he doesn't decide on foreign policy.
No, but we can imagine that he'll be speaking into Donald Trump's ear.
No doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt. On the other hand, on the other ear, he has his son-in-law Jared Kushner and whoever is the Secretary of State and so on and so forth, and Stephen Bannon and the new national security consultant. And
right.
So
I mean, yeah, because it sounds like a mess in a way, because you have here, like you said, you have Mattis, who is anti-settlement. Then you have Huckabee, who might be tapped, and he's for moving the embassy and very pro-settlement. And
don't worry, they will not move the embassy.
You think there's no chance that they will move the embassy?
Even if he wants, if Mr. Trump wants, then he will receive a brief from the CIA, from the NSA, that it will put in danger our diplomats, our American diplomats here and there. No way. He's not the first candidate to promise to move there.
Every candidate since the 90s.
And no one did it.
And no one did it.
So why being different?
Oh, we can hope. All right, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Airbnb is a network that helps travelers find economical lodging in 34 cities across 191 nations around the world. While speaking at a Los Angeles event to promote the company, actor and entrepreneur Ashton Kutcher charmed and disarmed a radical protester shouting about listings in Judea and Samaria. Here's how the television and film star handled the angry young woman who stormed the stage.
How's it going? How are you? How are you? How you doing? Wait, let me explain to you something. Let me explain to you something about what Airbnb means to me.
Let me first tell you what Airbnb is doing to
Well, you actually don't have the stage. So that's bullshit!
Ashton, tell her!
Okay, so let me paraphrase what's being said.
Get a job!
So what the people here are doing is focusing on bringing people together.
The protester was identified as a member of the Code Pink movement, which frequently targets Israeli settlements in the West Bank. As she was being escorted off stage by security, Kutcher continued to defend the peer-to-peer rental company, as well as Airbnb's founder, Brian Chesky.
We can get to know each other and bring each other together in a peaceful unity that doesn't have borders, that doesn't discriminate against one another.
Thank you, ma'am.
We can get to know each other intimately and understand our collective narrative is a narrative for everyone, and that we all can belong in a world together without borders. And while I can appreciate that this doesn't happen seamlessly, I can appreciate that it does not happen easily. I can appreciate that where there is change, there will be a fringe case that feels objectified. But this company is about bringing people together and about loving one another. And I know this man, I know his heart, I know his initiative, and I know that when a problem gets brought to his desk that says that there is a discrimination or there is a displacement, that he cares. And that the first thing he does is try to look at the system holistically and change it to make it better. So you're welcome to a world where we all belong. And if you want to sit down and have a conversation about it, I'm happy to have that conversation with you.
Have you ever wanted to dive with the fish in a gorgeous coral reef? Well, one very successful Israeli businessman can do that without even going outside. That's because entrepreneur Eli Fruchter built a 10,000-gallon aquarium in his own living room. His home reef just became a worldwide internet sensation inadvertently after he uploaded a few videos of the aquatic centerpiece in his Haifa home while seeking online advice. A rainbow of more than 30 different species of fish soar among the vibrantly colored coral in the artificially created current designed by Fruchter himself. The one-of-a-kind water system he created filters about 26,500 liters of water per hour, which he replenishes by dipping into the nearby Mediterranean Sea each week, transported by a specially equipped golf cart. Most aquariums this size require full-time maintenance, which the 63-year-old is more than happy to do himself. He still consults for one high-tech Israeli company, but is mostly retired after selling his own company, EasyChip, for over $800 million earlier this year. Showing even more Israeli ingenuity, he actually programmed management of certain marine functions, such as temperature adjustment, feeding times, and even the retractable sunroof, to be handled by an app on his phone.
The aquarium is located in my living room, while the sump and filtration are located one floor below the aquarium, so the aquarium water falls 6 meters or 18 foot from the aquarium overflow to the sump. I use that waterfall to create foam and skim it out through a self-built skimmer that I will show you later. I use sunlight for the corals through a filter that can turn on and off. I keep it on for the entire summer and it is mostly off during the winter. There are also 4 100-watt LEDs for the evening hours.
Masa Israel is home to the widest variety of immersive international experiences for Jewish young adults 18 to 30.
Find the right study abroad, internship, service learning, or Jewish studies program to help you grow as a person, a professional, and a leader, while also developing a robust global professional network that includes Israelis and Jews from around the world.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. We just learned of a retired high-tech CEO who put an extra-large aquarium in his private home. But no insanely giant home aquarium is complete without a beautiful coral reef, right? So today's word is almog, meaning coral. Now, aside from being a pretty Hebrew name, almog is also an important member of the ecosystem. The almogim form incredible shapes and harbor different algae and plant species which give it color. Some of them are even fluorescent. They provide a bedrock for the entire aquatic food chain, and of course they also offer unforgettable views like those found around the Almog Reef in Eilat. Just don't forget that while an almog looks strong and lives practically forever if undisturbed, they're not. And they're at risk of a number of different factors, so only touch the almog with your eyes. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast.
ILTV's weather forecast is sponsored by Adopt a Savta, taking care of Israel's lonely Holocaust survivors.
You can expect tonight to be mostly cloudy and windy with a low of 68 or 21 degrees Celsius. Temperatures are supposed to drop tomorrow with a chance of isolated showers and a high of 78 or 26 degrees Celsius. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.87 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. Thanks for watching and see you tonight.